Hello everybody, welcome back to another recipe. Today I'm going to show you how to make a caramel apple pie because it's nearly Thanksgiving and everybody loves pies when it's Thanksgiving. And I know in Canada it was already Thanksgiving, but you can still have pie after Thanksgiving. Anyway, I'll show you what you need in a sec. What you're gonna need to make this pie is going to be 1 recipe of my homemade caramel sauce, which you can find on my channel, 2 tablespoons of custard powder, 6 tart apples, I'm using Granny Smith, a half a recipe of pie dough, which you can watch me make in my pumpkin pie video, but I'll come back to that later on. And to make the apple crumble topping, you are going to need 1/3 cups of butter, unsalted butter, cold, 1 cup of flour, a half a cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of pecan nuts, which we are going to chop up in a little bit, and that's about it. First thing we're gonna do is roll out our pie crust. I made a homemade pie dough and I used 2.5 cups of flour and let me think, 2 sticks of unsalted butter cold and a 1/4 cup of water, a half teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of sugar. And you can watch me make this pie crust in my pumpkin pie video, which I recommend you also take a look at because pumpkin pie is very Thanksgiving-y thing to make. Plus I make it with coconut milk, so check it out, maybe you'll enjoy it. I'm just turning it as I rolled it out and I floured my work surface. Okay, now that I've rolled my pie crust out, I am just going to put it into my pie dish, which I have ready here. Drape it over. And I am going to cut the excess off the edges. I am just gonna fill it with some pie weights. I have a bit of parchment paper that I'm going to put in the pie. I just put in dried beans. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it in the freezer for about 10 minutes to get nice and cold, and I have preheated my oven to 375, which is 190 degrees Celsius, and I am going to be blind baking this pie shell. And by the way, you could have totally just bought a pie shell from the shop if they have it where you live, and then that makes life a lot easier, but we can't get it here and I like making my own, so that's my explanation. My pie crust was in the freezer for 10 minutes and now I'm gonna put it in the oven for 10 minutes. My pie crust was in the oven for about 10 minutes with the weights in, and then I took the weights out of it and then I put it back in the oven for about 5 more minutes. It's not really brown, but it's cooked and that's what it's all about. What I'm going to do next is peel some apples and slice them into thin slices. Now that my apples are all peeled and cut up, I'm going to take my custard powder, whoops, and take a little bit and put it in the bottom of the pie crust. And then I'm going to take the rest of it and I'm just going to put it with my apples and mix it around. The reason I did that is because a pie can get quite wet because the liquid comes out of the apples, but the custard powder will sort of absorb the liquids and turn it into, well, custard, apple custard. I have my caramel sauce here. I am not going to use all of this, probably about a cup or a cup and a half of this. So you can buy a store-bought caramel sauce as long as you have about a cup, or a jar would probably be a cup and a half, and then you can just use all that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a layer of apples into my pie crust and then put some caramel sauce on. Put another layer of apples, some caramel sauce, another layer of apples, and then some caramel sauce. And then we're going to make the crumble topping. All my ingredients ready to make my crumble. I just chopped up my pecan nuts a little bit, as you can see when you look at it. And now I am going to put it in a bowl. With the flour, sugar, and the butter. Now I am going to attempt to mix this all together. Okay, so I decided to ditch the whisk because it's hard with the whisk, and now I'm just doing it by hand. I'm just making a crumble for the top, and if you guys don't know what that means, you should have sort of like a sandy texture with bigger lumps of butter and flour in between. And I thought I would show you, it was time I showed you guys a recipe in which I did not use a mixer. So people that don't have a mixer can make this for Thanksgiving. Or for whatever other day. Whatever day you feel like enjoying apple pie. Okay, that looks about done. My hands are so sticky. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is I am just going to dump all of this deliciousness on top of all of this deliciousness. Okay, so I left my oven on at 375, which is 190 degrees Celsius. And now I'm gonna put the apple pie in for about 40 to 45 minutes. I don't want my apples to go too soft because then it just turns into mush, and nobody likes apple mush pie. So I'll show you what it looks like when it's ready. My lovely, amazing apple pie came out of the oven. It looks so good. I let it cool for about 40 minutes, which is actually too short, but I'm very impatient and I want to know what it looks like and how it tastes and if the inside is as wonderful looking as the outside. So I'm going to cut the apple pie so we can see and have a taste. Dit de goed uit? it did pretty well in the first 10-15 seconds, and then it sort of collapsed a little bit. But that's purely because the apples are still a bit hot and I am way too impatient. Also, the juices are running out a little bit, but that's also because it's still too hot. Once it cools down, the pectin from the apples, or however the hell you pronounce that, will set, and then it'll be nice and sturdy. Okay, so I'm gonna have a taste now because I can still taste to see what it tastes like. I love the crunch from the crumble with the apples that aren't too soft, and then they're tart. The apples are tart, which is really weird word, by the way, but the caramel sauce is sweet and it's just a marriage of flavor. It's amazing, and you guys should totally make this for Thanksgiving or just for any old day that you feel like having some nice warm apple pie. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time in my next recipe. Holy shit. If you guys like this video, then please subscribe to my channel, watch my other videos, and stick around for the next video. See you guys next time.